When Mahatma Gandhi was asked, "What do you think of Western civilization?" he answered, "I think it's a good idea." When I think about leadership or transformational leadership, I have the same kind of answer. I think it's a good idea. But I'm not sure that we really see very much of the kind of leadership that we really need. That is vitally necessary now if we are to negotiate the next years ahead of us and transform business into a power that truly assists us with the challenges that we face at this time. I was speaking at one of our most prestigious business schools yesterday, and I had in front of me an array of some of the most brilliant young people that we have, some of whom that may find their ways to your businesses. But you know, when I was speaking to them about what I believe to be the heart and core of leadership, one of them at one point spoke up and said, "We never discuss this. We never discuss or really go to the heart of what ethical leadership is truly about. We do not discuss values. We do not discuss what we truly love and will be willing to give our brilliance, our energy, everything that we have towards. We do not talk about that stuff." They said, "We are being trained to conform within a system and deliver that in an extraordinarily effective and efficient way." And another one spoke up at that point and said, "Many of us do not wish to go and work in those corporations because we have no faith, no belief that they will step up to this time, to this challenge. We think they'll just keep turning the same old handle, and they'll focus on less bad, which will never get us to good enough." And the conversation went on. I went back to the hotel, got on the train, and I came here this morning. Now, a few years ago, I was invited to a meeting that was held by one of the organizations represented here to explore what this organization's global purpose was. And I arrived in that meeting, and there was a whole ring of senior people sat round the table, and the atmosphere was positively depressed. It was just like weary and tired and depressed. And I walked into that room and I said, why the mood? Why is it like this? One of them spoke up and said, well, we all know what our organization's global purpose is. It's to stuff money in shareholders' pockets. So what is there to talk about? In that meeting, we imagined that was not the purpose for that organization. We imagined that this global organization had the power to focus its purpose on some of the key challenges that the world faces today, and that the means to do that would be a vigorous, strong, energetic business. But it would not be the purpose. And that emerged out of the meeting. A paper was written. It went up to the executive. The executive took it, looked through it, cut a few bits off, resorted the words, halved it, then resorted it again, changed some more of the words, and in the end it bore no relation to what had been sent to it. And out of that came the organization's new mission. And nothing happened, and nothing changed, but it looked quite good, and it read quite nicely. It's made no difference whatsoever. The situation we face now, year by year, becomes more profoundly challenging. One of the things which our organization is dealing with now, and we've noticed it grow significantly over the last few years, is the sense of hopelessness that we are finding in many of the frontline activists of the major organizations working in our world, attempting to halt some of the destruction of our natural world. They are losing hope. They won't stop fighting, but they're exhausted, they're tired, and they cannot see the happy ending that they're looking for. So what is it in real, authentic, powerful, energized leadership that we're missing? It seems to me that at the very core of it all, leadership is a choice. It's got nothing to do really with the education that you receive. It's a choice that you make, usually when things hurt enough and you eventually care enough. I'm not talking about some kind of thing that we call leadership that is just about the management of our businesses. I'm talking about profound, real, inspired leadership. Takes hold of a person, gets inside a person when they reach a point when they care enough to make their life difficult. And real leaders are never immediately patted on the back and congratulated and lauded and all the rest of it. No, they're not. They're actually disliked and avoided. You cross the road to get to the other side rather than be with this person that is speaking something which is so destabilizing to the way that we see and work in our world. When Rosa Parks gave up her seat in that bus in the United States, refusing to give up her seat so that because it was classified as a white person's seat, she marked herself leader. When Aung San Suu Kyi made the stand that she took, I don't think she had everybody saying what a wonderful person she was. She stood there in the fire of that military junta and just stood. Polly Higgins, some of you may have heard of. I think you will hear more of her. She's a lawyer who asked herself, how can I bring the skills that I have to this world and our needs? And she is now putting to the United Nations a law that would see the 5th crime against humanity, which would be called ecocide. If that is taken up, nations and businesses will have to look much more carefully at the actions that they are taking. Leadership has at its heart courage. That is courage, heart rage. It is not a decision to be taken lightly. Coming to my place in Devon, in the southwest of England, occasionally we get somebody who's coming because they are dying, and they are in huge pain at the thought of losing their life. Such a woman was Fiona. She was only 31 or 2. And I was sat by her by the lake day after day as she wept and asked the question, why am I dying? I haven't even loved anybody deeply yet. I haven't had the baby that I always longed to have. Why am I dying? And I got in touch with the First Nations people who mentored me in the United States, and Native American people, as I was floundering. And they said to me, how long does she have? And they said, we understand something like 3 months. They said, well, in every month there is 4.5 weeks. With every week there's 7 days. In every day, lots of hours, seconds, minutes. Ask her, why is she alive? And that question, why are we alive, is a question that any leader should be asking themselves. What is the purpose that I should align to, that I bring my gifts to, my courage? Why am I alive? We do no service to our leaders when we instruct them to conform within a system and within a business whose primary goal is simply the generation of wealth, financial wealth, no matter whether that means terrible cost to individual lives and the environment. There are 3 questions, and we think any leader should address. One is, what do I most deeply and profoundly love? It's not such an easy question, actually. As I've asked that question around, I've discovered that actually many people, the awful, appalling realization that they come to is that they never have deeply and profoundly loved. What do I most deeply and profoundly love? The second question. What are my deepest and most profound gifts? That also is a difficult question. Many people, in spite of the bravado with which they cloak themselves, have a deep sense that they are in some way not quite good enough. A third question, what are my responsibilities? It's the least favorite question. What are my responsibilities? The responsibilities to our business are easy. It's defined for us. It's even quite easy, our responsibilities to our nearest and dearest, but our deeper responsibilities never was an indigenous way of thinking. Those First Nations people shared with me, to imagine that my children are the only children that matter. Because it was always thought that we are parents to all children. And the whole nation of making a decision which had to pass the test of 7 generations. In other words, if we take this action, will there be any harm that will be created 7 generations to come? Should be a question, I feel, that a leader, any leader, should ask. When we remember that we are first of all mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, uncles and aunts, grandfathers and grandmothers, when we remember that we are that first, and that upon that is our whole honor, everything that is central to the person that we are, when we remember that that is number one, and being the director of marketing or the CEO of anything or whatever else there might be comes a long way second, we will begin to build the organizations that we need. There is this story, this phrase that's used many times in businesses, and it goes back to Gandhi. We must be the change that we wish to see in the world. I cannot tell you how many times I have heard that phrase repeated endlessly within business organizations. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. I have no sense that the gravitas of those few words has really hit home. So I'd like to finish by sharing with you that story, or how those words came about. Mahatma Gandhi was walking through a village. He's walking through the village and there's crowds of people all around him. And a voice is calling out, "Babu, Babu, stop, stop. Please, Mahatma, I must speak with you." And Gandhi just turns around, and there, threading through the crowds, is this woman dragging a very reluctant and rather plump young child behind her. And he pauses and stops, and the woman comes up to him and says, "Babu, this is my boy. He won't stop eating sweets. He compulsively eats sweets. Anything that's sweet, he just shoves it down his throat. Look at him. He's growing tubbier by the day." This rather shamefaced and uncomfortable child shifting from foot to foot. And Gandhi looks at the child and he looks at the mother, and then he says to the mother, "Come back in 3 weeks. I'll deal with it then." "But Babu, please, do it now, it'll only take a second. He won't listen to me, but he'll listen to you. Please, just tell him, little boy, stop eating sweets." And Gandhi says, "Please, bring him back in 3 weeks. I'll do it then." And the woman, stifling all kinds of things that she'd really like to say to the Mahatma, takes the child and they disappear. And 3 weeks later, let's imagine in another village, And the crowds are all around Gandhi again, and cutting through and rising over the noise of the people. Babu, Babu, it's me, I'm back, please stop. And Gandhi stops. And she takes the young child up to Mahatma Gandhi. And she says, Babu, you promised that in 3 weeks you would tell my son, stop eating sweets. And Gandhi looked at the little boy. We can imagine his soft gaze on this child. And he said, little boy, stop eating sweets. And little boy said, okay. And the mother is just looking and saying, well, I'm sorry, but why did that have to take 3 weeks? And Gandhi said, because I love sweets. I eat far too many sweets. I had to stop eating sweets before I could tell this child not to. You see, we have to be the change that we wish to see in the world. We have to be the change that we want to see in the world. Your industry, which is dedicated to something that we can only call good, around hygiene, around cleanliness, that lays a foundation for good health and wellness, will have truly come of age when you and we truly align what we love, our gifts, and our sense of our deepest responsibilities to the work we do day to day. And when that happens, we will see leadership such as we haven't seen before. And we will know that there is some real hope, that these organizations across our earth, which are the most powerful, most effective organizations at getting things done, will find our way to the world of our longing, which is just another way of saying a sustainable world. Thank you.